It's here, and with it, it brings match day one. Juventus up against PSV from the Juventus Stadium in Turin. That's the match that we'll be focusing on one of our earlier kickoffs. It will be happening at the same time as young boys, all the way from Switzerland, take on Aston Villa of England. That's coming from the Stadion Wankdorf in Bern. And then a little later on this evening, there will be a number of matches for you to look out for, including a clash of the heavies, AC Milan of Italy taking on Liverpool Football Club. That is from the San Siro in Milan. That's from 2100 hours this very evening. We'll be building up to all of those matches, of course. And then Bayern München taking on Dynamo from the Football Arena München in Munich. That will be on SuperSport Variety 1. Don't forget, it does continue. Plenty more to look forward to this very evening. The champions are here, and they start their title defense at home at the Santiago Bernabeu in Madrid, taking on Germany's Stuttgart. And then we've got Portugal and France having a go at each other through the abilities of Sporting as well as Lille. That will be coming from Lisbon this very evening. It's match day one of the UEFA Champions League. A very good evening to all of you. Thank you for joining us. It's the day we've all been looking forward to. It's finally here, and it brings with it the UEFA Champions League for season 24-25. My name is Luwazi Zikubu. Delighted to be with you. Delighted to be with the gentlemen to both my left and my right. They'll be forming part of our match day throughout the course of the UEFA Champions League for 24-25. So, without wasting too much time, let me quickly introduce them to you. You know him. His name is Sean Bartlett, former Bafana striker, former Charlton Athletic striker as well, a man who made dancing really popular within the South African football game. He'll be telling us about that a bit more a little later. Next to me is Wesley Gabriels. He, just like myself, making his debut as far as the UEFA Champions League is concerned. Then we've got Wongani Khumalo, former South Africa national team captain and Tottenham Hotspur defender. A former midfielder, he says, before he became a defender. He'll be telling us more about that in a short while as well. And then one of the more special people here on your World of Champions, because the last time we did the UEFA Champions League, all those years ago, he was here. He is still here, ladies and gentlemen. His name is Neil Andrews, and he, of course, will be with us throughout both this evening and indeed the course of the UEFA Champions League. Via Zoom, we do have some wonderful talent as well. You know her very well. Julia Stewart, she's going to be our correspondent throughout the course of the competition, starting today up until the 31st of May. She's all the way in London. And then Kaylin Swart, who decided that today is not the day she's going to be joining us in studio. Instead, it is going to be via Zoom that we'll be hearing from her as she shares her insights with us on the UEFA Champions League. So I feel it's only right that we do start with the godfather of it all. Neil Andrews, years later, the UEFA Champions League, Studio SuperSport, it's back. The Champions League is back. Certainly bigger. We're not too sure yet if it's going to be better.
No, it's definitely going to be better. No question about that. I don't want to isolate myself because both Sean and I feel like we've been in a bit of a time zone shift here. Because we were discussing, Sean, maybe 6 years ago. We think we broadcast live. We've all missed it, and our SuperSport audience have missed it. Because no disrespect to what we were receiving, but it was quite English-centric. We have, Sean summed it up, we've got a nation of so many different kinds of people. We want to include everybody from an African perspective. So it's just great to be back. Very excited to be with you guys. And just excited. And I just want to say to Jules, she got the message about us wearing sky blue because she's in her sky blue. So Jules, I know you're all the way in London, but well done.
Hey, I didn't want to wear red, Neil.
Oh, you've started, eh?
She indeed has started. She has indeed started. But again, that is the godfather. You are certainly of that ilk as well. You have been here. You have done this before. And just to be back sitting in these studios with this new format of the Champions League, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, these are the nights I think any young boy are wishing for. You know, you want to play in the pinnacle of club football, which is Champions League. And you know, obviously with this new format as well, I think everybody's quite excited and looking forward to it. And, you know, this is a game of emotions, and hopefully we'll see all kinds of emotions throughout the stage. And, I think tonight even the games that are in prospect is yeah, mouth-watering.
It certainly is mouth-watering. To my right is Bongani Khumalo. Unfortunately, while you were at Tottenham, they weren't really dreaming about European football, were they? But here we are. Here we are. They're still not in the competition, unfortunately. Yeah. But it is, as Sean has mentioned, a game of emotions, a game of high quality from Team 1 to Team 36.
Yes, and if I'll start by correction, slight correction, you will love this. When I signed, we were in the Champions League. Gareth Bale was absolutely flying.
Yeah.
Absolutely flying. And I was actually very fortunate to be at the stadium when we played AC Milan. And
with Harry. Was Harry there?
Yeah. And Peter Crouch scored as well. So I've had a little bit of a taste of the Champions League, and it's truly, truly special. I think there's nothing like it. That anthem, when players line up, that feel in the stadium, in the arena, there's nothing like it.
Luwazi, I want to ask him, how far did you have to look up to see Peter Crouch? How tall was he? Because you are... What size are you?
No, well, I'm 186.
And what is he?
Probably like 1'9" something, close to 2 meters. Big boy. Big boy.
Absolutely big boy. We've got Wesley Gabriels alongside as well. Looking forward to not only tonight, but the Champions League for the whole season.
Yeah, I mean, new format in the Champions League and new things we're doing at SuperSport as well. So it kind of go hand in hand. But really excited for the new season. The new format is going to be very intriguing because it's going to put, we're going to see a lot of the big teams play against each other, but also we get a chance to see the smaller teams take on the bigger club teams, and hopefully we'll see an upset into going forward in this competition. But really excited to be alongside everyone here as well.
Yeah, certainly. It starts tonight, doesn't it? It certainly starts this very evening. Let's go then to both Kaylin and Julia. Let me start with Kaylin, the current Banyana goalkeeper. And what are you looking forward to seeing, especially from, I guess, a goalkeeping point of view? That is what we are going to be asking you throughout the course of the competition.
Yeah, I think whatever's happening tonight, it's very exciting, it's new, and everyone's going to look forward to it because, I mean, we have a great crew with us. I think you guys are really setting the tone for what's to come, and I'm sure the viewers are going to enjoy what we bring to them.
Yeah, we certainly are going to be enjoying all of that. And, of course, the contributions of Julia Stewart all the way from London. Now, we have some sort of a sense of what the Champions League means based in South Africa. If you are in England, and once you are in England, particularly London, if you could just explain to us what everyone is going through, what everyone is thinking, particularly if you're Aston Villa, the very first of those English teams to be in action this very evening.
Listen, Luwazi, things have certainly changed for me at SuperSport. This time last year, I was going to Polokwane pitch side. Now, the producer them, Guru, the bosses, Simo, are sending me to the Emirates, to the Etihad Stadium. They're sending me to Aston Villa, as you mentioned, Villa Park. Of course, Anfield for European nights. What a privilege it's going to be for me to be pitch side. Last year, I was fortunate enough to go to a number of Champions League games, including the final here at Wembley. And you know, Premier League football is one thing, league football is one thing, but that Champions League anthem, which is playing in the background here tonight, is just something else. When it blasts through the speakers, it's a night game, there's a light show. You're seeing some of the best players in the world right in front of you. It is absolutely just something else. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. And thinking about for those Aston Villa players who, you know, for the first time, the club are in the Champions League era. You know, they're former champions, but it's over 40 years since they were last among Europe's elite. And so a big night for them as well under Unai Emery's guidance. Obviously, he's got plenty of experience. I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, just this, it's just something special. You can actually feel the magic in the air, no matter how cold it is. Champions League nights, man. Champions League nights, that's where it's at.
That is exactly where it's at. And yeah, Jules, not only tonight, but throughout the course of the competition, we know that you can be giving us some wonderful insights from England and indeed London, where she is currently. Now, it is, of course, a new season, which has come with a new format as far as UEFA Champions League is concerned. We'll be talking about that in a short while. But firstly, what's your appetite on this?
Mr. President, are you almost here?
I'm minutes away. What's wrong?
What is this? This doesn't make any sense.
Well, I know you want us to explain the new Champions League format in this video.
Group stage system.
But there is one problem. And it's a big one.
Don't look at me.
Non dire nada.
Mais que fait l'UEFA?
Wow.
None of us understand the new format, Mr. President.
Gigi, this is not that difficult.
Maybe not for you, but things are not good here.
I'm completely confused.
Madre mía. Why?
Listen, I'm retired now. I have better things to do. What are we doing?
Relax. I'm pulling up now. I'll take care of it.
Oh, and one more thing, President Sheffery.
What now?
You'll never guess who is driving the director crazy.
Oh, no. I knew it.
He's complaining about the script, the new format. He's complaining about everything.
Tell him to calm down. I'll be right there.
Please, get here as soon as you can.
President, I saw the script, and it's very complicated.
It's not complicated, it's fine.
Teams will play 8 matches in the new league phase.
Are you sure?
It's fine.
So no more group stage? I guess not. Teams will be seeded into 4 pots.
4 different seeding pots.
Seeding pots. I don't know what it is.
What was wrong with the old format?
There is.
Oh, Mr. President, we have some questions.
Guys, I don't have time now. Sorry, I don't have time.
Mira quién ha llegado.
Presidente,
I can't. I don't have time now.
what about the new format?
People have a lot of questions.
Just leave me alone, Luis. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.
Why is he making this so complicated?
Cut!
This is nonsense.
Facciamo di nuovo.
What's wrong?
Honestly, this guy is impossible.
Come on, it cannot be so bad.
This is absolutely garbage. Who wrote this?
I got this. I did.
I should have known this came from a lawyer.
Zlatan. Creating problems as usual?
Not really. It's all under control.
So tell me, what do you think about the new format?
Always had problems with the Champions League.
Because you never won it?
I see the president comes with jokes. By the way, terrible script.
So how would the great Zlatan explain the changes to the world? How?
You keep it simple. Why does UEFA insist on complicating everything? Tony, give me some music.
Sure, why not?
Okay, let's do it from the top. 1, 2, 3, and.
We tell the world it's time to change.
Okay.
1 table, 36 teams, and no more groups of 4.
Straightforward.
Each club plays 8 different opponents instead of only 3. So the competition becomes better than ever.
I agree. That's why we're doing it.
Fans deserve more action, more jeopardy.
Exactly.
Then why are you feeding them this corporate garbage? Give them what they want, more football. Tell them that this is the Champions League, where the best in the world come to compete. Tell them that this is an all-or-nothing league, where legends are made and hearts are broken. Mr. President, you could even say, this is a super league.
Hey, wise guy, I told you, this will never happen.
Mr. President, I come with jokes too. Tony, who told you to stop? Come on, let's go. Football never stands still. It always evolves. And now, the fans are getting more competitive games. So that every match, every goal, every point matters. They're about to see that the best club competition in the world just got better. Because this is the Champions! I've never said this before, but you don't need me. Let the tournament speak for itself.
Gigi, you can go home now. We're done here.
Stai scherzando? I canceled dinner plans for this.
I think at this point we can all agree that all of Alexander Ceferin, Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Gianluigi Buffon will not have a career in acting. However, they are very much involved in football, as are we. Wonderful times as we get into the build-up proper. Juventus up against PSV from Turin. This is Juventus now coming onto the arena where, of course, there was no Champions League football last season. They did miss out, so they'll be feeling that it's due that they go back to European football and indeed head back to the heights that they did climb all the way back when they did win the UEFA Champions League. Two-time champions are Juventus, of course, in 85 as well as 1996. And starting up, they're up against Dutch champions PSV, a side that has also won this competition all the way back in 87, 88. And this is a side that dominated Dutch football last season and indeed has started the new campaign in the very same vein. So for the first time this evening then, we're going to have a look at the starting lineups with the help of the gentlemen and the ladies, of course. On production today, we have a look at Juventus with the skipper Michele De Gregorio, who has been key to them not conceding a goal as of yet in Serie A. He'll be hoping that they take that kind of form into the Champions League this evening, but plenty of other players to look forward to. Coach Sean, I want to come straight to you here, because if you look at Juventus and their attacking abilities, you can't think too far ahead of someone like Dusan Vlahovic.
Oh, of course, and he's the one that is the last time that actually scored a couple of goals.
Yeah.
So for me, obviously, the last two games coming into this game, you know, not scoring a goal, drawing both games 0-0, I think, like you've indicated, with all the attacking abilities, they should be scoring more goals. And they're coming up against a team that, you know, they scored 20 goals in the first 5 games. So you've got to make sure, obviously, you defend properly, which we know the Italians can do. But it's about scoring goals, especially your first game at home. You want to win.
Yeah, you certainly do want to win, Bongs.
Yeah, I mean, look, a top striker. I think you can expect him to be very aggressive when entering the box. Gonzalez, for me, is another player worth watching. You know, he chips in terms of his fair share of goals. Wonderful skill, pace down the sides. I mean, exactly what you'd want at this level.
Yeah, he'll have plenty of help in that regard from the likes of Nico Gonzalez, Keenan Yildiz, as well as Teen Coop Miners, and trying to get off to a winning start at the Old Lady at home in the UEFA Champions League. On the other side of the pitch, of course, in Turin will be PSV, the Dutch champions, who lost just a single game last season, and as Sean has mentioned, Neil, have started the new season in quite some form as well.
You know what? It can easily be looked past this game, but if you analyse it, Sean's spot on. This is not an easy return to Champions League football for Juventus, because PSV are one of the coming teams, no question about that. They've been sensational this season and last. Juventus, you touched on it, they had no European football last season, so not only Champions League, that's an embarrassment for a club that size. Of course, it wasn't a football embarrassment, it was financial irregularities. Many people talking about that right now, of course. But the reality is they've been out for a year. That's a long time for players. And so it'll be interesting how they handle the music and the fact that they've got to welcome a side who, as Sean said, I think are going to attack them. So I think this is a really fascinating game and not a straightforward win for Juventus.
Absolutely not. Wes, players that stand out for you there?
Yeah, I think you can't look no further than the captain, Luc de Jong. I mean, he's been scoring a couple of goals in the Eredivisie for them. And also Guys Till, another player to look out for, as well as Tillman on the side. He's also been in red-hot form for PSV. And I think they're going to cause a lot of problems for that Juventus backline. And I think Juve, heading into this game, I think before the international break, they were doing really well under coach Thiago Motta. But I was watching their game that they played a couple of days ago in the league, and they looked a bit flat. So you're wondering now, looking at their lineup with a couple of changes made from this weekend's game, that it could inspire them to be a bit more attacking against the PSV. But as Sean mentioned, that they've scored 20 goals so far in the league. So we're going to see goals in this match, I believe.
No, we cannot wait. We certainly cannot wait to see goals in Turin between Juventus as well as PSV. At the same time, of course, it will be Young Boys up against Aston Villa. And this is Young Boys who are also champions of their particular league and have been champions for the last 2 seasons now. So plenty of pedigree in that regard. And Jules, I want to come to you here because they are a side that has come up against English opposition in recent times, the likes of Manchester City and Manchester United. So what do you feel their outlook will be in trying to take down Aston Villa this evening?
Young Boys, Patrick Roman's men are the reigning Swiss champions, but they are bottom of the league at the moment. They haven't got any wins in the opening 6 games. Some of the key players to look out for there, Cedric Itten, Ugrinich, as well as Joel Montero, who scored twice against Galatasaray and was last season's top scorer. You know, it's interesting because you have this pedigree, you have the history in the Champions League, but then Young Boys, their form currently is not in their favour, and they're coming up against an Aston Villa side who have been incredibly impressive. They started the season well, and they certainly know how to score goals. We know they have Ollie Watkins in their side, but also what about the addition of Amadou Onana and John Duran, who started the season like a house on fire, 3 goals in 4 in the Premier League. Interesting one here, and I'd like to pose this question to the former players in the house, Kalen, Sean, or Bongani. playing on an artificial pitch tonight. What is the difference? What should we be looking out for?
Well, if I may, I think artificial pitches are a nightmare. I mean, on your knees and your ankles, never the best place to be. And I think one thing to note is that the ball bounces differently, you know. On grass, if you play at night, the pitch is wet, the ball kind of skids off and just runs off the pitch. But with artificial, it tends to sort of hold up whenever it bounces. So the role is definitely different. And also, again, the strain on just the ankles and the ligaments is quite a lot. So it'll be interesting to see. And you might want to stay on your feet as well, because slide tackles aren't really encouraged. But if you have to, pain.
That's probably the only advantage I think young boys will have here tonight, because hardly any English team play on AstroTurf. So I think artificial turfs is very, very tricky. Also, with the speed of the ball, it goes a lot faster. And in Switzerland, when you water the field, it will even go faster. So I think that will make it even more interesting for Aston Villa. You know, in this Wangdorf stadium, it can be very intimidating also. You'll see from the fans, they're quite passionate. They're all right on top of the players, and it will make it difficult for Aston Villa to go there and get a result. Even though, like Jules has said, the young boys started the season really badly, but they've won the league 6 out of the last 7 years in Switzerland. So they know how to win. It's just obviously a bad start to the season.
And perhaps we can extend that question to you, Kaylin, as a goalkeeper, when you are playing on artificial turf, and Coach Sean is mentioning the fact that the ball, sometimes, you can never really gauge exactly how you will receive it if it does come off the turf. It's going to be a lot of work for someone like Emiliano Martinez to deal with, as well as the home goalkeeper, David van Bolmoes.
Yeah, playing on artificial turf, to adapt to it, it's so much harder because, you know, being on grass, you're so used to it and the way the ball moves, how fast it moves. And I think it's also just harder on us as goalkeepers because, you know, the grass is a little bit softer. The pitch now, obviously it's hard and, you know, you got to adapt to that. And also the speed of the ball, you know, keeping your eyes on the ball, I think that's more important. But also, you know, kicking on artificial turf is hard. It's really tough. I know from experience, I hate playing on artificial turf. So I can only imagine with these guys that are used to playing on grass. So it's going to be an interesting game, but I'm very excited for it. And I think Martinez will definitely show his class. He's week in, week out, we see him in the Premier League, what he's capable of doing. And he's definitely a goalkeeper that I look up to. So it's going to be a tough one, but I'm excited for this match.
Emi Martinez, one of those 10 goalkeepers, of course, in the running for the Yashin Trophy when the Ballon d'Or ceremony does come around. We are going to take our first break then as we continue our build-up to the first 2 kickoffs of the 2024-2025 UEFA Champions League campaign.
Hey, can I get a verdinha?
A what?
Monekin?
Heine.
The green one?
Discover Honor 200 series. The best portrait phone, AI empowered. Triple 50 MP studio level. Turn every moment into a perfect portrait. Discover Honor 200 series, AI-empowered magic portal. Just drag and share in one step. This is Honor 200 series.
Irresistibly smooth chocolate to put the world on pause. Lindor, made to melt you by the Lindt Master Chocolatier.
The DStv app offers more convenience to manage your account. Just select the Manage tab. Paying your DStv bill is even easier. Just select Pay, then select a payment method. Want to add Showmax to your bill? Just select Manage under My Packages. Scroll down and select Add on the Showmax product tab. Fill in your details, then activate your account and log in. My DStv app, now available on all app stores.
As you can see, it's a Kentucky Town frenzy. Back to you in studio. Hello?
This just in.
Taste the hype with KFC's Kentucky Town before it's gone.
You're still with us as we continue to build up to the very first two games of the 2024-2025 UEFA Champions League. They'll be taking place at the same time from Turin. Juventus taking on PSV. That will be on the Premier League channel. And then Young Boys meeting Aston Villa on Variety 3. Those are the two early kickoffs. That will be followed, of course, a little later on this evening by another 4 matches right here on your home of champions. So we've spoken about the new format then. 32 teams traditionally. It's all the way through to 34 teams now. 125 matches traditionally. This very season, Bonds, let me come to you here. We're expecting 189 games to determine the champion.
Yeah, and I think those games will be played at an exceptionally high level, just purely based on the fact that, you know, you don't have the comfort of sort of home and away anymore, certainly in the first round of games. So you got one chance, whether it's home and away, you got one chance to get your story right as a team, get your points, whatever it is. And at the end of the match day, you know, you can always see where you are on the table. So, I mean, that just bodes for a really, really exciting competition.
Yeah, and we speak about how difficult the competition is generally, Neil. However, if you do find yourself between position 25 and 36 after the league phase, you need to have had a terrible, terrible season. There are opportunities to make that round of 16.
Yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating because, you know, the cream should rise to the top. And I've been talking during the week about the fact that more games probably means that the squads with greater depth will come through over a period of time. So you look at some of the minnows, if we can call them that, they do have a challenge. But football is football. We will see surprises along the way. And if you get off to a bad start and you find yourself in the wrong group, you know, let's say a Liverpool or somebody doesn't pick up, then the pressure builds. So it's a pressure cooker. But overall, I think that we will see the cream rise to the top. I really do.
And all of this, of course, while you're trying to manage your domestic campaign as well. So as we're having a look at that, crystallize it for us very quickly, Coach Sean. Top 8 goes straight through to the round of 16. And then position 9 to 24 have a second opportunity, as it were, to join those 8.
Yeah, well, we saw obviously the teams there. I just wanted to tell Jules not to get excited. That's alphabetical order. So it's not a final log at this moment in time. But I think, like Neil has indicated, I think the big teams normally have bigger squads. So they can rotate the players, whether it's a League Cup or Champions League. And they have the luxury of those things, you know. And I think for me, it's, well, really, the smaller teams will test them a lot from first game. And that's why it's important. Like, if you go to Juve, you've got to try and get a result. Because remember also, there's no home and away with these teams. You play them once off. So the next game might be away against a different opposition. And that's the difference of this format as well, that there's no more home and away against the same team.
Very quickly, Jules, as we're having a look at Juventus and PSV, just wanted to find out from you, how has the new format been received over in England? Because, again, there's been a lot of chat about just how extended, really, the football calendar is from some players, some with some rather, I guess, apt complaints in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. We heard Alison talking after the Nottingham Forest defeat about the fact that there's so many more games for players to play. We're going to see an extended Club World Cup. We're going to see this extended UEFA Champions League as well, which goes all the way, the group phase, league phase now, into January. We've not had that before. We usually know December, it's tickets, break, then Feb, it picks back up again. Now, how are they going to manage this run in the Champions League? The other question for me is, how many points do you need to qualify? You know, teams usually have targets in the first 3 games. We need to win to secure. We need to ensure we get so many points. How many points are going to be enough? They've sort of done the calculations. I think 16 points enough to finish in the top 8 to qualify. Basically, over here, all I've heard is people trying to explain to each other how this works. How many more away days we have? Which cities are we going to now? Because you know they travel here. Take a day off work and then that's it. We're out. We're going to Paris. We're going to Munich. We're going wherever it takes us. And people are just trying to work out how many off days do they need to be able to follow their teams. But the big question also, the main one I've put in there is, how many points are going to be needed to qualify for top 8? I mean, for Sean, with his coaching hat on, do clubs kind of work that out? Do they look at competitions like that and say, we need X number of wins, we need X number of points, when can I rest players, when do I need to play my best? Is that a factor?
Perhaps, Neil, would you like to try and...
No, Sean. From Tottenham's point, any point would be good. We would like at least one against Arsenal. But I suppose, Sean, you would try and predict, because your point is very valid. Any team will pick out, we'll win this, this is a tough game, where do we rotate players? So they will have gone through their schedule of games and then picked out, we think that's a banker for 3 points, we've got to be careful here, pick up a point on the road, Sean. That kind of breakdown.
You would normally do that, but if you look at the so-called bigger teams, you know, they've got tough starts already. You know, Madrid is starting with Dortmund, Liverpool, Milan. Man City's got Inter, PSG. So it's already, you start with tough games already. So then you've got to ask yourself, league-wise also, who do you play off before and after? That will be important. The league games before and after Champions League games will give you indication who they're going to play actually in Champions Leagues. But end of the day, I think if you can win 4 out of the 8 games and draw a couple, then you set yourself a good target. Like I think Jules mentioned 16?
16 points.
Yep. So
they're thinking that 16 should be okay.
Yeah, that would be a good target.
Kaylin, your thoughts on this?
It's going to be very interesting to see how the coaches really go about this, because if you look at PSV, they have the likes of PSG and Liverpool coming up, you know, in the next couple of matches. So I think that's just an example. And I mean, if as a coach, who do you rest? Like Jules says, who do you rest? Who do you play? Who do you start? Who do you put on the bench? So those are obviously some of the things that the coaches will strategize with. But I think also on the players' minds, because you know, in one game you might have a top 2 team, and in the next game you have a bottom tier team. So there's a lot that will go into it, and I think it will be a lot more mental than physical. But of course, with all the number of games that are coming up and the different leagues, I think physically it will be very demanding on the players. But I mean, they're professionals, and I'm sure they'll be able to manage it. But as a fan looking into it, I think it's a really tough one to look at, because there's so many good games coming up, and I think also the players will be having to strategize that.
Yeah, not from a fan's perspective, we certainly aren't complaining, because there's absolutely blockbuster football to look forward to between now and the 31st of May 2025. Game 1 then of the UEFA Champions League for the season 2024-2025. Out of Turin is Juventus taking on PSV. We've already had a look at that particular starting lineup. This is a Juventus outfit, of course, that was in the final the last time that the final was held in Munich, which is going to be the final for next year. But when it comes to them trying to acclimatise, trying to come to terms with the UEFA Champions League, a new format altogether, Bonks, this Juventus side, as they look to PSV to try and get those 3 points, where do you feel they can hurt?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, unfortunately for Juve, you know, they haven't really scored, have they, in the past couple of games or so? So, I mean, that leaves a question mark. But I think with just the special environment of the Champions League, you can expect top players to make this count. Looking at PSV Eindhoven, we mentioned De Jong and his sort of goal prowess. I mean, last season he scored about 20+ goals, didn't he? So he's a top player for this level. Looking forward to seeing what Bakayoko can do as well. Certainly, you know, as a second striker coming in late in the box as well, I think he can definitely chip in with a few goals.
And certainly be looking to do exactly that on Game 1 away from home, visiting Turin. On The other side of things, of course, will be Young Boys taking on Aston Villa. Neil, you wanted to have a bit of a comment here as far as the villains are concerned. At first, though, let's have a look at the Young Boys starting lineup. A number of players that Jules has already mentioned to look out for. I want to add in someone like Collie there, who is a Gambian winger and returning from loan at Atalanta. He's a man that is extremely young, but extremely quick as well and able. Down that right flank, he'll be looking to cause Aston Villa all sorts of problems. Neil, how do they try and deal with that threat?
Well, I think they're going to find it very difficult because the first thing I looked at the Aston Villa lineup, which we'll get on to now, is Unai Emery is taking no prisoners. He started a real lineup here. I wanted to shout out because I saw him warming up. This guy, Morgan Rogers, has really caught my eye. I think he's going to be a fabulous player going forward. You know, he's represented England at every level. Surprised he got left out actually by Lee Carsley, but I think he'll be back in the England squad. So it's a great lineup. But if I can give a shout out to Aston Villa supporters, because there's a lot of them in South Africa, and 1982 they won. It wasn't the Champions League then; it was the European Cup. People forget that on the night they beat Bayern Munich. Now this was the Bayern Munich that had Karl-Heinz Rummenigge up front, and they kept a clean sheet. It was a fabulous. Dennis Mortimer was their captain. The guy who scored, we were talking about tall guys, was a guy called Peter With, who scored in the 67th minute. It was in Rotterdam. Now think about that for a moment. Aston Villa playing Bayern Munich. So to go back to 1982, I mean, I'm getting gooseflesh. Gordon Cowans, Dennis Mortimer, these great players. So for Aston Villa, I'm not a Villa fan, but for them to be back in Champions League is like pinch me stuff. So remember that.
Okay, Neil was busy telling us that he remembers that game.
I was in matric.
And a couple of us were just, we couldn't even believe any of that. Very quickly then, with all of that said, Neil, give us your prediction for both the Young Boys Villa game and the Juventus.
Well, can I just, do I have to do both? I'm just going to do Villa one. Okay. I'm going to do Young Boys. I don't think Young Boys will score. I think Aston Villa will win. Oh, I don't want to be too bold. It's Champions League 2-0. 2-0 to Villa.
Let me see, Juve PSV, I'll go with the Juve win, 2-0.
Juve, 2-0 as well. Wes?
I'm going to upset you on that one. I'm going to go PSV 2-1 against Juve. Shock of the evening.
PSV, shock of the evening.
Juventus also on the fence. I'm going 1-1. Young Boys, I'll go 1-3. Villa to win.
Villa to win away from home. Very quickly, Kaylin, your predictions for both games?
I'm going to go with Villa, 2-1 win, and Juventus 1-1 draw, maybe.
Okay, and then, Jules, last but certainly not least, how do you see these two games going?
Juventus haven't conceded a goal yet. That might end tonight. I'm going, same as Kaylin, actually 1-1 draw. And then I think Aston Villa, I think Young Boys will score, but Aston Villa 3-1.
There it is. Those are the predictions then on Match Centre. The very first predictions of the season. A very big thank you to both Kaylin and Jules. We'll be hearing from them throughout the course of the season. For now, though, we go to a slight break. On the other side of it, it's Game 1 and 2 of the UEFA Champions League 2024-25.
Hey, can I get a verdinha?
A what?
Monekin?
Heine.
The green one?
Talking tactics, game-changing decisions, and those edge-of-your-seat moments. Extra Time has it all covered.
We'll take you to the midweek, we'll take you to the weekend action.
From innovative strategies to those key moments that got us all talking. Catch all the in-depth analysis of the weekend's football action. Join host Thomas Mlambo, panelists Pumudzo Manenze, Matthew Booth, and Bongani Kumalo, and our very own resident referee, Mr. Spot On himself, Andile Ace Ngol.
Circumference of the ball. It's not for everyone, it's for the internet.
Dive deep into the heart of the action in Extra Time every Monday at 8:30 p.m. on SuperSport, your world of champions.
They do realise it's half-time, right?
Don't
can't wait to celebrate. When your team goes 2 goals up, you win, no matter the outcome. Another first from Sporting Bet. Betting amplified.
Like Dream Team. Like my Devon is Dream Team 3. Barbecue chicken, Hawaiian, original veg. What? Sweet chili chicken, chicken and mushroom with that sauce has to be within.
Nothing beats the amazing fiery Mexican fiesta in any Dream Team 3.
Choose your Dream Team 3. Pick 3 medium pizzas from our 6 winning flavors for only $179.90. Debonair's Pizza. Try something amazing.
The name is Siam Tan.
No, the name is Anika.
Siam Tan.
Anika.